You ever have that feeling like you've done everything you were supposed to do in your career? You've checked every single box, but something just feels off, empty? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're talking about the surprisingly high price of a so-called safe career, and this weird way our own brains can end up fighting the very success we've worked so hard to achieve.
Yeah, it's that nagging question you might ask yourself when you're sitting in that corner office looking at that impressive salary. Why does this feel so hollow? And let me tell you, that feeling, it's not a fluke. It's a signal. It's telling you there's a huge mismatch between what society says you should want and what your brain is actually wired for. So let's unpack that. All right, first things first, let's look at the trap itself. We'll call it the conventional success trap. It's this whole idea of success that most of us just kind of inherit without ever really questioning it, an idea that for a lot of us might be fundamentally broken. You know, from the time we're kids, we're basically handed this checklist, and society tells us, hey, if you just tick these boxes, get the big salary, the steady promotions, the fancy job title, you'll be happy, you'll be fulfilled. But look at them. Every single one is about external validation. It's all about what your success looks like to everybody else. And that right there, that's the core problem. We can spend decades climbing that ladder of success, right? We're so focused on just getting to the next rung, but we almost never stop to ask the most important question of all. Is this ladder even leaning against the right wall? And that empty feeling? That's the cold, chilling realization that you might be climbing with all your might towards a destination you never actually wanted in the first place. So let's talk a little more about the structure of that ladder, because a lot of the time, the issue isn't the climbing itself, but the super rigid linear path we're all expected to follow. So what is a linear career? Well, it's pretty much a straight line. It's predictable, and it focuses almost 100% on extrinsic rewards. You know, things like pay and status that come from the outside. The key thing here is you're not drawing the map. You're just following someone else's directions. So here's the trade-off you're making. The linear path, yeah, it offers a paved, predictable road, and it's fueled by paychecks. But a meaningful path? It's way less certain, sure, but it's fueled by internal stimulation and real growth. It's really the difference between following a pre-drawn map and using a compass to forge your own trail. Okay, and this is absolutely the key. If you're the kind of person with a curious analytical mind, you know, someone who loves to sink their teeth into complex problems, then a rigid, predictable path doesn't feel safe at all. It feels suffocating. It's like this constant friction, right? Your brain is begging to explore and grow, but the job itself keeps you locked inside this tiny little box. This brings us right to the heart of the matter. We've talked about the career that society kinda designs for us. So now, let's look at the career your brain is actually designed for. So we've got this checklist model of success hammered into our heads. But as it turns out, our brains couldn't care less about that checklist. They're wired for a completely different kind of reward. The thing it's looking for is something called mental resonance. Now, this is the big idea here, mental resonance. It's that deep feeling of satisfaction, you know, when you're completely in the zone. It's what happens when your work truly challenges you and connects with what you're naturally curious about. It's almost like your work is humming on the exact same frequency as your mind. Just think of this as your brain's real job description. It wasn't designed to just perform repetitive tasks for paycheck. It's this incredibly powerful engine that's built to seek out complexity, to embrace a good challenge, to go deep on subjects that really fascinate it, and to be fueled by the joy of the work itself. That's what we call intrinsic stimulation. So what do we do with all this? How do we actually break out of this conventional trap? Let's get into our final section here and talk about how we can build a whole new framework for thinking about this. Now, let's be super clear about something. This is not about rejecting money or stability, not at all. It's about redefining what wealth even means to you. It's about realizing that true wealth also includes things like intellectual stimulation, personal growth, and that feeling of mental resonance. Think of it like adding those to your personal balance sheet. So here's the new framework. It's actually pretty simple. Number one, get brutally honest with yourself about what you're genuinely curious about. What problems do you actually love thinking about, even for free? Two, actively look for roles and projects that offer real complexity, not just predictability. And three, when you're making career decisions, make mental resonance a top priority. Ask yourself, will this job actually engage my mind or will it just pay my bill? Which really leaves us with one final big question to think about. A resume. What is it really? It's just a list of those conventional milestones, right? It's a record of the ladders you've climbed to get those external rewards. But a legacy is the impact you make when you finally decide to do work that truly resonates with who you are deep down. And the choice between building one or the other, well, that's ultimately up to you.